All right, so my name is Satik. I work at Rutgers University. I've got a big, long title. I work for a big, long school at Rutgers. I'm the Director of Student Services with the Department of Labor Studies and Employment Relations. None of that means anything to you, and that's okay. Just know that I work at Rutgers, and I love being at Rutgers. I'm a Rutgers lifer. I went to school at Rutgers. I did my undergraduate work there. I did my graduate work at Rutgers. I got married at Rutgers, and now I work at Rutgers. And so I'm all Rutgers, all right? Any Rutgers fans in here? I'm not seeing any hands. It's a little disappointing, all right? All right, kind of, all right. All right, so you guys, my card, you guys have my card. I gave you a little pen, so, you know. And all I'll say is, after today, if you guys have any questions, or if you want to get in touch with me, feel free. I'm always happy to answer questions about, you know, about what I do, about what Rutgers is all about. And so, with that in mind, I mean, clearly you guys are all interested in going to college, right? Because you guys are here. And it'd be a big waste of time if you came to a session called Choosing a College and you had no intention of going to college. So, let's talk about going to college. Now, you guys are going to be bombarded with a ton of choices, and a lot of different people are going to be, you know, giving you advice and stuff like that. And so, the most important question, I'm going to start this session with probably the most important question that you can ask yourself, okay? And that's this: what do you want from college? Okay? This is the one question you have to remember. This is the question that you have to answer for yourself. So, you tell me, what do you want from college? In other words, what do you want to get out of it, and what do you want from a college? What are you looking for in college? Yeah.
An education and exploring new fields.
Okay, so you want education, exploring new fields. Good. Okay, what else? You guys have to have something to do. You guys are about to dump tens of thousands of dollars into this venture. So, yeah. See, this is where honesty is not the best policy. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so activities that your future employer would like, and that's an important point because ultimately, and the key word there is employer, because why do you go to college?
Get a job.
Right. To get a job. Ultimately, your goal is to get a job. I mean, some people want to learn stuff, but realistically, you want to get a job. Okay, so you want to kind of like keep that in the back of your mind. You want to build up your resume. You want to have activities that help you do that, and ultimately, you want to build yourself up to become an attractive job candidate. Okay, so those are a couple things. We're going to explore this a little bit further as we go. So let me tell you a little bit about how we're going to proceed. This is basically the presentation outline. You guys probably know this first part, but I still want to just spend a couple minutes talking about the necessity of going to college. All right, because some people tend to take that for granted. So we're going to spend just a couple minutes talking about why you should go to college. Okay. And then before I talk about how to choose a college, we're going to spend a couple minutes talking about what not to do when choosing a college. So think of this as kind of like a do's and don'ts of choosing a college. All right, and then we're going to talk about how to actually choose a college, finding that right fit, and then define what the right fit is, because going to college means different things to different people. And what college is all about means different things to different people. So let's talk about going to college. Why? Okay, ultimately, why do you want to go to college? All right, so we talk about, you know, becoming a good job candidate. Okay, and that's probably the big thing here. Going forward, what you really need to do is think about college as an investment. All right, now I'm sure a lot of your parents probably have investments that, you know, you save money, or you might buy stocks, or mutual funds, or things along those lines. Well, college is an investment too. All right, you pay tens of thousands of dollars in tuition. All right, that's the investment. The ultimate payoff is you get a job, okay, and you get a higher paying job, and that's the important thing. So here's what's happening. A lot of people are wondering, well, tuition is going up so much, college is becoming so expensive. Is it worth paying all that money to go to college? And the answer to that is yes, okay, because what you see here is this. All right, a degree is becoming more important, not less. We live in a digital economy. We live in this global economy. So what happens is this. The cost of going to college is going up, but the cost of not going to college is becoming even more expensive. Okay, so you kind of have to weigh between the two things. But yeah, college tuition is definitely expensive now. But if you don't go to college, the long-term costs are even higher. Okay. So again, like you guys, I'm sure, like you guys follow the news at all, a little bit. All right, if you turn on the news, it's not that uncommon to hear stories about the tough economy and so forth. And here's the thing, yeah, no doubt about it that right now the economy is tough on recent graduates. Right now, by the time you guys are graduating from college, it's going to be a lot better. So you're going to be in a really, really good place. But here's the thing. Keep in mind that no matter how hard things are for graduates, it's always going to be harder for people who aren't college graduates. All right, now, when you graduate from college, all right, most of you will have some amount of college debt. All right, now the average amount of college debt right now is $30,000. Okay, it sounds like a lot, but over time you pay it off. You know, once you get that job, you're going to pay it off. I mean, my college debt at one point, and I think between my grad school and undergrad, I think it was like $50,000. But here's the thing. Because I got a college education, I was able to get a good job, and I'm not worried about being able to pay off those college loans. And that's just how it is. Okay? This is what I'm talking about. This is an investment. Don't think of this necessarily as debt, but think of it as an investment that you're making long term. Okay? And here's the thing. All right, one of the biggest advantages of going to college, and I'm sure you guys know this, is that you're going to be more qualified for high-paying jobs in most fields. All right, this is ultimately why you go to college. On average, college students make more money than people who don't have a college diploma. And this is, you know, a basic chart. It's from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is basically demonstrate that. It's going to show you two things. First, if you look at the unemployment rate, okay, and that's on the left side here. What you see here is that the less education you have, the higher the unemployment. On the other hand, all right, the higher the degree you have, the more money you're making. Okay, it drops a little bit with the doctoral degree only because a lot of people with doctoral degrees happen to be in teaching or research positions that pay a little bit less. But other than that, if you look at this trend, it starts with less than a high school diploma all the way up to a doctoral degree. What you see here is that the higher the degree, the more money you're going to be making. So that said, let's talk about college fit. We're going to talk about the do's and don'ts. Okay, and this is the big theme I want you to keep in mind. Okay, the best college for you is the one that fits you best. Okay, so let's talk about what fit is all about. And fit means two things. Okay, it's going to talk about what not to do and what to do. So let's talk about those things of what you don't want to be doing. All right, so I'm going to give you guys 5 scenarios to avoid when choosing a college. Because here's the thing, there are a lot of costs to actually choosing the wrong college. And those costs can be, you know, you might have to like put off being a wager. In other words, you have to put off getting a job. You have to pay extra money in tuition if you're not at the right college. You know, there are a lot of different factors. Now, here's the thing. When you choose a college, you want to make sure you're choosing a college based on rational reasons, not emotional reasons. Okay. So, what are some good reasons not to choose a college? Like, why would you? Like, what are some factors you don't want to base your college choice on? Yeah.
If you're really low on money.
Okay, so finances might be a reason. So, I mean, if you're low on money, you don't want to go to a school that charges $50 grand a year on tuition. Okay. That might be a reason. What else? Yeah.
Might not be interested.
Right. Okay, that's a big one. You might not be interested in any number of factors in a particular college. Okay. All right. I'm going to give you 5 scenarios here. All right. Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys have a significant other? How many of you guys have a boyfriend or girlfriend?
Wait, what?
How many of you have a boyfriend or girlfriend? Lies. Lies. Here's why I'm asking. A lot of people, when they're about to graduate college, okay, they decide to go to college because it's where their significant other might be going or is planning on going. All right? This concept of, I should have put love in quotes, okay? All right, here's the thing. This is the wrong reason to pick a college, okay? Don't pick a college based on who you happen to be dating in your senior year, or if you happen to know someone who's going to college and you want to, follow him or her there. No, don't ever do that. Okay. Statistically, most relationships, like if you're dating in high school, for example, most relationships end after about midway through your first year of college anyway. So don't base the rest of your life and don't spend tens of thousands of dollars on this concept of, don't do it. Okay? There's so many horror stories, you don't want to go there. All right, number 2, following the crowd. Don't go to college just because a bunch of your friends are going there. Or don't pick a college because, well, everyone else I know is going there, so I'm just going to go along too. Don't do that. All right, because inevitably what happens is, let's say you've got 5 really close friends, of which they all decide to go to, I don't know, East Cupcake University. All right, now when they get there, you think, oh, we're going to hang out, we're going to party, it's going to be great. And when you get there, you discover that, oh, they're too busy studying anyway, so they just ignore you. Okay, and then you discover, oh, you hate East Cupcake University after all, and you really wanted to go to, I don't know, West Cupcake University, but you did, all right? It becomes a big mess, so that's not how you determine the right fit. This one, I love talking about this one, okay, because parents hate it, and I love pissing off parents, okay? All right, you shouldn't pick a college based on what your parents are telling you to do. All right, now, obviously, the parents are going to have certain restrictions, like in terms of how much they can pay, but ultimately, this is your degree, okay? So you really should avoid having your parents dictate to you what you should study, where you should study, okay? This is about fitting with your interests and your needs, okay? Now, you gotta be reasonable too. If your parents can't afford to send you to some college that, charges $60,000 a year for tuition, well, that's an exception. But if your parents are saying, well, you have to go to, X university and study, I don't know, law, well, that's what they want, but you have to ask yourself if that's what you want. All right? If that's not what you want, then you're wasting all that money. Okay? Sports. I like this one too. Sports are great, okay? But you never ever want to pick a school based on their athletics, all right? I don't care if, like, let's say, I don't know, Michigan Wolverines, they got a big, huge athletic program there. I don't care how big a fan you are there. Okay, you don't pick Michigan because you're a Wolverine fan. Okay, unless you're about to play for that team, that's a different issue altogether. But if you're not about to play for the team, don't pick a college based on their athletic program. And finally, prestige. Okay, don't pick a college just because it happens to be famous, just because it happens to have a big name. All right, because that's not how you get a good fit. All right, so. Harvard and Yale, all those Ivies, for example, might have a lot of prestige, but does that mean it's right for you? No, not necessarily. Okay, you have to pick your school based on a lot of other factors. Now, does anybody want to take a guess how many colleges there are across this country? Yeah.
545.
545. No, not even close. Yeah.
10,000.
Well, 545 was closer, but you're going in the right direction, though. Yeah.
2,735.
Not bad. Well over 3,000 colleges.
That is 10,000.
All right, so there are over 3,000 colleges across the country. All right, so getting the choice of a college right the first time is very, very important. And so finding that right fit, figuring out what's important to you, it's going to help you narrow down that feeling. There are 3,000 colleges. All right, so you start with 3,000. You got to narrow it down to 1. So how do you do it? You have to figure out what's important to you. Okay? And you're going to discover some options that may not have even been on your radar before. You're going to discover all sorts of new things. All right, so starting your college search with the basics will help you identify these colleges that best suit you academically, personally, whatever the case may be. Now, each one of us has certain unique needs and desires. Okay, so what's right for one person isn't going to be necessarily right for someone else. Okay, so identifying your needs and wants early on, you can eliminate all those schools that aren't the right fit for you. Okay. So let's talk about finding that right fit. All right, so that best college is the one that's right for you. It's an option that for no other reason. It's what meets your needs. And there are all sorts of different needs that we're talking about. All right, so we're not talking about, rank. I mean, yeah, rank is important to some people, but it's not the be-all, end-all.
All right, and you're certainly not going to college necessarily to impress your friends to say, hey, I go to so-and-so place, so you suck because you go elsewhere. No, that's not why you go to college. The college that fits you best is one that's going to do 5 things. Okay? Academically, it's going to offer a program setting to match your interests and needs. So, for example, if you are interested in engineering, all right, you're not going to go to the Fashion Institute of Technology or some culinary school. Okay? You want to have a style of instruction to match the way you like to learn. So if you don't like to, if you don't like sitting in big, huge lecture halls with 300 students and have a professor talk at you for a couple hours, well, you're not going to choose an institution that bases its academics on that. Okay? You want to go to a college that provides a level of academic rigor to match your aptitude and preparation. In other words, right, if you are, I don't know, if you're a straight A student with, with 2,400 SATs, you're not going to want to go to some low-level college. On the flip side, if you're not, if you're not that student, if you don't have a 4.0 or in some cases a 4.2, 4.3, you don't have a 2,400 SAT score, let's say your SAT score is like, I don't know, 600. You got every question wrong, but you got credit for putting your name down on the SATs. Well, you're not going to apply to Harvard. Okay? Next, the next thing here, you want to have a university that offers a community that feels like home to you. All right? If you are uncomfortable in, say, like an urban-style environment, then you want to pick a college that's more in a more rural setting. All right? So you're going to be living there, or unless you're commuting, but you want to feel at home. Okay? And finally, you want a college that values you for what you do well. All right? These are all the things that a good college will do for you. So let's talk about what the right fit looks like. Okay? So these are all the different things, and like I said, these are all things that I'm sure that you guys have thought about. Some of these things you might not have thought about. So we got a big list here. All right, location and geography. This is one of the easiest ways to eliminate thousands of schools that you don't want to go to. So I mean, if you're in New Jersey, you want to stay in New Jersey. Obviously, you're not going to apply to say UCLA or Stanford. Okay, so where you go to college, this is probably one of the most basic pieces of information you're going to need. All right, I mentioned this before, the environment, the setting. All right, if you're into, if you're comfortable in an urban area or an urban type of campus and you don't want to stay in like a rural campus that's in the middle of nowhere, well, that's going to help you determine where you apply also. All right, the type of college, whether you're going to a private college, public school, liberal arts, something with a religious affiliation, whatever the case may be, the type is also going to be important. All right, the size of the school, whether you want to go to a big school, and Rutgers is a huge school. All right, at the New Brunswick campus here alone, we have close to 40,000 students. All right, now there are other colleges that have 2,000 students. So that size is important, okay, whether you want to go to a big school or a small school. All right, admissions requirements. Okay, you want to apply for schools where you think you have a good chance of getting in. Okay, and obviously you want to apply to some schools that might be a bit of a reach. All right, it's always good to aim high, but you do want to take admissions requirements into consideration. Academics is important. All right, why would you want to go to a school that doesn't have anything that you're interested in? Okay, if you're interested in studying political science, go to a school that has political science. Okay, if you're interested in studying engineering, go to a school that has a strong engineering program. Okay, money is always going to be an issue. Okay, you might have certain interests and needs and wants, but if your parents can't afford it, well, that's kind of the ball game. But at the same time, take expenses into consideration. Take scholarships and financial aid into consideration. Because if you can't afford to go to college, well, obviously you're not going to apply there. All right, if you have $30,000 of financial aid per year, and a college charges you $40,000, then obviously you're not going to be applying there. Housing, this is an important one. Okay, because again, if you're living on campus, you want to take housing into consideration. What kind of dorms do they have? Do they have large rooms, small rooms? Do they have good community spaces? Do they have a good sense of community? What kind of dining halls do they have? Things like that. Housing is always going to be important. You want to be comfortable. If you're uncomfortable, then that affects how you live, and it also affects how you study. All right, that's bad on two fronts. All right, facilities. What kind of buildings does it have? All right, does it have a nice dining hall? Does it have good recreational areas? Does it have a nice gym? How are the buildings? Are the buildings about ready to fall apart, or I mean, are they nice? I mean, like, so take those things into consideration. Or even like architecture. I mean, do you like classical architecture, or do you like more modern architecture? That's a decision that people take into consideration. Okay, internship opportunities. Okay, this is especially important now. Okay, the fact that in the modern workplace, okay, as you guys are getting ready to apply for jobs, right, people are going to be looking at how much internship opportunities you have. All right, so you always want to take into consideration what kind of career services a college offers. If a college doesn't have any career services, if a college doesn't offer an internship opportunity or help you get internships, well then it's not going to prepare you for, you know, for whatever lays after college. Okay. What I want you to do is this. I want you to get this into your head. But this has nothing to do necessarily with choosing a college, sort of. Okay, but when you get into college, you have to stop thinking of yourselves as just students. Granted, you are students, but more than anything else, we mentioned this before, you go to college, why? Because you want to get a job. All right, so you're no longer just a student, but you're an emerging professional. In other words, everything you do has to be targeted to getting that job. All right, building up your resume, getting internships, doing well academically, of course, doing extracurricular activities, all those different things, okay, count towards getting your first job. Okay, so everything you do has to be through this framework that you're an emerging professional. You're not just a student anymore. And this is kind of a big picture thing because you want to make sure that the college you choose allows you to see yourself this way and gives you the most opportunities to be that emerging professional. Okay, now, I do a lot of presentations with career services and interviewing skills and so forth. And so you guys are going to be learning a lot about networking and how to do interviews and things like that. How many of you guys have gone on a job interview before? All right, a couple of you. Remember what's the very last question they'll ask you during a job interview?
I had 2 different interviews for the same job. So
Okay. What was the very last question they asked you? Do you remember?
Not at all.
Do you remember? Generally speaking, on any job interview you go to, right, the very last question they'll ask you is, do you have any questions? All right, that'll be the last question. Okay, what's the very worst answer you can give?
No.
Right. You never ever say no. All right, or don't say no. You answered everything. Always walk into an interview with at least 3 questions prepared. Okay, because it shows that you know how to do an interview. Okay, whether it's a college admissions interview, a job interview, whatever the case may be. Okay, with that in mind, do you guys have any questions? Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, so why do you like Rutgers?
Why do I like Rutgers? That's a great question. I like Rutgers for a lot of different reasons. I like the big school atmosphere. For starters, what was it? Yeah. I may have gotten there really, but it's got nothing to do with that. Now, I think there are a lot of things. I mean, I like the fact that Rutgers is a big school. I like the fact that Rutgers is a huge part of New Jersey. I like the opportunities that are there. I like the academics. I mean, when I was an undergrad, I studied political science, and Rutgers had a fantastic political science program. I went for my graduate work. I went to the grad school of education, so there was and they had a great program there. There's a sense of pride that's at Rutgers that I think that's really great. They've got a pretty good athletic program also. So there are a lot of those things drew me to Rutgers. Now, initially I was one of those typical people, I didn't want to go to Rutgers, but when I got there I realized it's a great place. The housing was great, the food was decent, the food's awesome at Rutgers now. The sense of community was good, the research opportunities were good. So all those different things really contributed to me liking Rutgers, and I can envision staying at Rutgers for a long time.
And what's the difference between Rutgers, New Brunswick, and Rutgers, New York?
That's a good question. All right, so Rutgers is one of the most confusing places ever. Okay, and it's so big. It's one of those things. If you can learn to navigate Rutgers, you got it, man. That's the best life skill you'll ever get. So Rutgers has 3 different campuses. It's got New Brunswick, Camden, and Newark. So all 3 campuses operate within the framework of Rutgers, but also operate independently. So they're essentially different colleges, and so they oftentimes the differences might be academic in nature. They might have different academic programs. The other differences are geography and the environment at the campuses that they are. Those are the key differences, I think. Any other questions? What did I just got done saying? Oh, there it is. Honesty, the best policy right there. But, listen, the biggest piece of advice I'm going to give you is this. Do not ever get intimidated by the college application process. It's not that big a deal, okay? Going to college is a big deal, but the application process itself, don't ever let yourself get stressed out over it. Don't get, don't lose your mind over it. Have some fun with the process, okay? Yeah, like I said, it's a big, big decision, but have some fun with it, okay? I loved the application process. I thought all my friends were all around, they were all stressed out, they were losing sleep over it. Whatever. I had a great time with it. So make sure you have some fun with it. And you're going to have a lot of conflicting pieces of advice along the way. Your parents are going to be jabbering in one year, and you have 8 million people jabbering in the other year, guidance counselors, friends, and everything. Ultimately, decide what's right for you and try to filter a lot of that noise out. Okay, now I'm not saying, all right, so don't, I don't want you to go home and say it. I said this, I'm not saying ignore your parents. I'm not saying blow off your parents, okay? That's not what I'm suggesting. Okay, but what I am saying is that you have to work with them, but at the same time, make sure that they don't dictate every last thing. You have to make sure that your friends, your guidance counselors, everyone that's talking to you, that no one is dictating every last thing. You have to kind of work within a lot of different frameworks, and you got to do what's right for you, ultimately. Okay, because this is going to be your education, your career, your future. Okay, so you want to make sure that you make a decision that you don't ultimately regret. Or regret as much. All right, so listen, I think you guys have to head out to your next breakout, right? Yeah, so you guys are heading to your next breakout. Don't forget to take the pens, the cards. Anytime you have any questions, call me, email me. I don't really sleep all that much, so if you email me at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll probably get right back to you. So good luck to you guys. Enjoy the rest of the day.